Hello friends. Now in part 1 insulin we have studied or we have discussed about the synthesis of insulin as well as secretion of insulin, which are very much important. There's some part of the different types of insulin preparation. Now in this part, second part, we are mostly going to focus on the mechanism of action of insulin and what are the different pharmacological actions along with the effects of insulin. Now start with the mechanism of action of insulin. As we know, on the insulin particularly acts on specific receptors which are located on the cell membrane. This is what the structure of the cell membrane of particularly every cell, but their density means the density or the number of insulin receptor present depends on the cell types. These receptors are more present on liver and fat cells. Insulin receptors is a heterotetrameric glycoprotein. It consisting of two extracellular alpha subunit and two intracellular beta subunit. They are linked together by disulfide bond. Alpha subunit contain insulin binding site as you show in here. These two sites are specifically for insulin binding site, whereas these are the beta subunit. They containing the enzyme that is tyrosine protein kinase. Now what happened? Binding of insulin to their specific receptor at alpha subunit induces the aggregation and internalization of the receptor. This activates tyrosine kinase on beta subunit. Now beta subunit, they phosphorylates these tyrosine kinase residue on each other. Phosphorylation phosphorylate the tyrosine residue of insulin receptor substrate protein, particularly IRS1 and IRS2. These are the proteins which get phosphorylated. The phosphorylation and dephosphorylation leads to the stimulation or inhibition of various metabolic enzymes. So certain secondary messenger like phosphatidylinositol triphosphate you have studied, these are the secondary messenger. Diacylglycerol, these are also the secondary messenger, and they mediate the action of insulin on several metabolic enzymes. So once these secondary messenger they produces the effect. So insulin produces the increased glucose uptake and utilization by the cell, storage of the glycogen, and increases fats and protein. Side by side, it also causes the decreased breakdown of glycogen. Overall, this mechanism leads to decreased blood glucose level. Now, insulin also stimulates the GLUT4 like glucose transporter 4, which is ATP dependent uh, transporter, and insulin also stimulates this transporter across the cell membrane. These transporter, they this secondary messenger also acts also regulate the gene for large number of enzyme through MAP kinase, activation of transcription factor, and promotes proliferation and differentiation of the specific cell. Now stimulation of GLUT4 also allows glucose inside the cell, thereby they increases the glucose uptake and utilization. Now, finally, as a result of internalization and degradation, the receptor insulin complex is either degraded intracellularly or returned back to the surface from where the insulin released extracellularly. So, this is overall what the mechanism of insulin, how it produces their action. So, once again, the insulin receptor consists of alpha subunit and the beta subunit, and these receptors are connected by sulfide disulfide bridge. and this beta subunit containing tyrosine phosphokinase. When insulin bind to the alpha subunit, it will phosphorylate the tyrosine phosphokinase of the beta subunit, that is IRS1 and IRS2, which also stimulate the secondary messenger like IPG and DAG. These have the effect on several metabolic enzymes. This secondary messenger also stimulate the GLUT4, that is glucose transporter 4, which allows the entry of glucose and thereby increases the glucose uptake and utilization. This secondary messenger also having certain action on the DNA and RNA, thereby they increases the cell proliferation and differentiation. As a result of internalization and degradation, some insulin undergo metabolism and some are get recovered for further process. Now, the insulin increases the glucose entry into the cell. It stimulates its oxidation and promotes its storage. It is the only hormone that decreases plasma glucose level, decreases basal glucose level, and also prevent rise in plasma glucose following feeding. It is only effective anti-diabetogenic hormone. Now, insulin increases glucose entry into the cell of almost all tissue of body except brain, RBC, epithelium, GI tract, and renal tubules. Now, insulin having a prompt action on three different parts, that is in the liver, then in the adipose tissue, and in the skeletal muscle. Now, in the liver, insulin promotes the glucose storage and prevents its production. It also facilitates glucose entry into hepatic cell. It stimulates glucokinase enzyme, which facilitates phosphorylation of the glucose to glucose 6 phosphate. It stimulates glycolysis. By this action, insulin converts glucose into pyruvates and lactic acid. Then it decreases the cellular concentration of glucose. Increase glycogen synthesis, thereby it promotes storage of glucose in the form of hepatic glycogen. It inhibits hepatic glycogenolysis, therefore decreases hepatic glucose output. It also inhibits gluconeogenesis and decreases hepatic uptake of gluco, uh, gluconeogenic amino acids. Now, insulin has certain effects on the adipose tissue. What is that? Glucose entry in adipose tissue by stimulating the GLUT4, as we have seen the mechanism of action, and hexokinase activity. In fat cell, glucose is then converted into alpha glycerophosphate, which is further used for esterification of fatty acids and triglycerides. In skeletal muscle, again, stimulation of GLUT4 increases the glucose entry into the cell and increases the hexokinase activity. In muscle cell, glucose is oxidized by activation of enzyme pyruvate dehydrogenase. Glucose is also stored as a muscle glycogen, which is stimulated by insulin. Now, what are the effects of insulin on fat metabolism? If you see, insulin increases the storage of fat and inhibits mobilization and oxidation of fatty acid from fat depot. So on adipose tissue, these what happened in adipose tissue, the hormone sensitive lipases, as it is shown here, hormone sensitive lipases can break down the triglyceride into glycerol and free fatty acid. This the this Thus insulin inhibits this lipolysis, decreases lipolysis, and thereby decreases the release of stored free fatty acids and decreases plasma free fatty acid, decreases the formation of keto acids. Now, lipid absorbed from the intestine circulated in plasma in the form of triglycerides and free fatty acids. Now, triglycerides cannot enter adipose tissue. As such, they must be split by lipoprotein lipase. It is the enzyme which breaks down the triglyceride to free fatty acid, that is lipoprotein lipase, which is present in vascular endothelium and convert to free fatty acid and glycerol. Thus, free fatty acid can enter adipose tissue from triglyceride there. Now, insulin, what it will do, insulin promotes or stimulate the enzyme lipoprotein lipase, therefore make free fatty acid available from bloodstream for formation of triglyceride in the adipose tissue. If you see the figure, insulin stimulates the lipoprotein lipase, therefore triglycerides is converted into free fatty acid. More free fatty acid is available into adipose tissue, and again the triglyceride is going to form. Then this free fatty acid is immediately esterified to alpha glycerophosphate in adipose tissue, which is also induced by insulin. So again, the glucose molecule, they also stimulate this process and forms the alpha glycerophosphate. Now the effect of insulin on liver is again explained here. Now in liver, what happens? This fatty acids is also synthesized from glucose by insulin by some mechanism. What this insulin stimulates fatty acid synthesis enzyme. It is given that insulin get stimulated. So insulin stimulates fatty acid synthesis enzyme, the final step in fatty acid synthesis. It also stimulates acetyl-CoA, as you have seen here, by which malonyl-CoA is used as a substrate for the formation of free fatty acid synthesis, as it is a rate limiting step. Now, insulin also facilitate the synthesis of cholesterol in the liver from acetyl-CoA by activation of the enzyme HMG-CoA reductase, the rate limiting step in the process. So actually in the liver, this uh, insulin stimulates the formation of this free fatty acid from acetyl-CoA by this enzyme. It inhibits this carnitine acetyl transferase. Now here, this conversion of acetyl-CoA to carnitine acetyl-CoA, it is a rate limiting step. So it inhibits this step and allows the conversion of free fatty acid. Another that it in the liver, this insulin also stimulate HMG-CoA reductase, thereby acetyl-CoA to mevalonic acid is formed and there is a deposition of the cholesterol. So it allows the formation of cholesterol in the liver. Now, in the protein synthesis or protein metabolism, this insulin is an anabolic hormone and it facilitates the protein synthesis in the muscle and liver by following mechanism. First is it facilitates amino acid entry into the muscle cell. Therefore, it decreases plasma amino acid concentration. Thus, supply of amino acids for gluconeogenesis is also decreases. Secondly, it promotes protein synthesis in ribosomes. This is achieved by induction of gene transcription for various proteins by insulin. Insulin also degradation is also causes the decreased degradation of RNA. Insulin also inhibits proteolysis by decreasing lysosomal activity. Thus, it decreases release of amino acids from muscle and inhibits their oxidation. So, these are the various effects of insulin on carbohydrate metabolism, then your fat metabolism and protein metabolism. Now there are certain other actions of insulin are also reported. What are these actions? So first is insulin facilitates the rapid entry of potassium into the cell by stimulating sodium potassium ATPase activity in the membrane. Thus it decreases the plasma potassium level. It increases the entry of phosphate and magnesium into the cell. Third is it also increases reabsorption of sodium, potassium, and phosphate from the kidney. Insulin decreases food intake. This action is partly mediated by its inhibitory effects on neuropeptides Y released from hypothalamus. Now, chronic insulin or excess insulin increases the body weight and adipose tissue mass. The leptin level in plasma increases that promotes the satiety. Again, this growth hormone promotion action is one of the important action of insulin. Insulin stimulates synthesis of macromolecules in cartilage and bone that promote their growth. So this is all about the several different actions of insulin in different level or different parts. Now what about the pharmacokinetic of insulin? Insulin, when given orally, it is rapidly inactivated by gastric acid. So the preferable route of administration is subcutaneous route, where the depot form of insulin is administered. Intravenously, insulin is administered, but when it is in the emergency, otherwise it reduces the glucose level and leads to hypoglycemia. Intramuscular route is also a route of choice in some cases. Then insulin metabolized by first pass metabolism, so 50% pass through the portal vein, and degradation after receptor mediated internalization, as we have seen in the mechanism of action of insulin. These are the various insulin preparations. So if you go through the preparation, you can observe the types, then appearance, then onset, then peak, then duration of action, and some are mixed one or two while administration. They are classified as rapid acting, short acting, intermediate acting, and long acting. Those students who are going for the GPAT preparation, they can understand such types of classification and their duration, which will be really helpful for you during your GPAT preparation. Now, what are the therapeutic uses of insulin? So, insulin, particularly as you know, the type 1 diabetic mellitus is the insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, because the patient or the person is lacking the release of insulin from beta cell, either from the birth or up to the adolescence level. So in such patients, the insulin is administered. Then certain type 2 patients are there who are on the oral hypoglycemic agent. Suppose the patients are first given oral hypoglycemic agent, but after few years, the resistance will be developed and the patient glucose level or hyperglycemia is unable to maintain. In that case, most of the time, the physician prefer to administer insulin to such patient. Then third is the gestational diabetes if it is not controlled by the diet. Then one more use is that for emergency treatment of diabetic ketoacidosis, it is also called as the diabetic coma. This emergency is usually faced in the patients suffering from type 1 diabetes. The patients are usually dehydrated, hyperventilating with loss of consciousness, and the treatment part including the bolus dose of zero point 0.1 unit per kilogram intravenous insulin and to reduce the blood glucose below 300 milligram per deciliter. Then another use is non-ketonic hyperglycemia. It is also called as hyperosmolar coma. This usually occur in elderly type 2 diabetic cases and is characterized by dehydration and hemoconcentration and is usually fatal if untreated. Then for emergency treatment of hyperkalemia, insulin is given with glucose to lower the extracellular potassium via redistribution into the cell. Now, what are the adverse effects of insulin? Certain effects are noted and very important, and the common is hypoglycemia, that is sudden decrease in the blood glucose level is called as the hypoglycemia. This can occur in any diabetic patient following intensive insulin therapy or by missing a meal or by performing vigorous exercise. It produces hypoglycemia. Then lipodystrophy. Lipodystrophy can be occurs at the site of subcutaneous injection. It is not a problem with newer preparation. It can be avoided by changing the injection site. Third is allergic manifestation, that is urticaria and angioedema. It may be observed with beef or pork insulin, but rarely with human insulin. Then final is the insulin resistance. It seems to have developed if the insulin requirement seems to exceed 100 units per day. It is usually seen with beef or pork insulin and to a lesser degree with human insulin. So this is all about the important facts of insulin. Then the fates of insulin, or we can say the metabolism of insulin. So half-life of the insulin is 5 to 8 minutes. Then the clearance takes place at 800 ml per minute. Then basal insulin release is zero point 0.5 to 1 unit per hours, and with food intake increases this fetal rate to 10 times. Then it release in peripheral circulation, that is 300 units per liter, and metabolized mainly in kidney and liver. And C-peptides is better marker of beta cell activity. If you want to know whether the beta cell is working properly or not at that time, one should check the C-peptide level, which gives you the idea about the beta cell activity. So this is all about the insulin. In coming period, I will going to share with you the different types of insulin preparation. Another is the oral hypoglycemic agent, and uh, third is the general part about the diabetes and diabetes mellitus. Thanks for listening.